just imagine.
You know, you've not been able to confirm categorically to us. I mean, what you still have is suspicions, despite all the meetings that you've had, as to whether or not this stock of people who are coming in now from the traditional Fulani herdsmen that you know, or that the communities affected know, or whether they're just a foreign stock. They should be able, the people that you've been holding meetings with should be able to tell you if they've noticed foreigners amongst them, you know, people who do not, maybe, who are not from Nigeria. How clear is this distinction? How are you being able to get cooperation from them? That is on one hand. And how has it affected the relationship, the traditional relationship that the Fulani herdsmen used to have with the farmers?
Yes, right now, I can tell you that the Benue farmers still regard the Fulani herdsmen as their brothers. And as I said, they are ready to coexist with them. And indeed, Benue has 23 local government areas. In all the other local government areas, you still have Fulani herdsmen grazing in the other local government areas. The problem is along the 4 local government areas of Guma, Makudi, Gwe West, and Agatu that lie on the borderline at the valley of River Benue at the border with Nasarawa State. This is where this problem has surfaced and has refused to go away easily. In the other parts of the state, you still have Fulanis grazing their cattle without any problems. So when these Fulanis come in and conduct themselves in a manner that I have already described, we have reason to believe that they are coming and they are not familiar with the terrain, and therefore they are very violent and very hostile to the host communities. This is what gives us reason to conclude that these people may be a strange stock of Fulani that are not familiar with the environment that they are operating. And this is why we have to move proactively in engaging the government of Nasarawa State, because we came to the understanding that when these people attack, they recede into communities in Nasarawa State and disappear into thin air. And the only way we could do was to engage the government of Nasarawa State. And Governor Susam is very grateful that his colleague, the governor of Nasarawa State, have been very, very cooperative in terms of meeting with him, in terms of sharing intelligence, information, in terms of even community resources to ensuring that the joint action is put forward. These clashes have claimed a lot of lives, as I told you. Even military officers on duty were killed in previous operations. And so some police officers have lost their lives in these clashes, and thousands and thousands of people have died from both sides. So this is why Governor Suswam is committed to ensuring that this problem is resolved, and would like the federal government to continue to support his administration in Benue State to ensure that this problem is resolved at the earliest possible time.
Mr. Akwaya, the question we're trying to, finally see if we can get confirmation to is, if you, in the meetings that you have held with the traditional leaders of the Fulani herdsmen, because you did mention that you've had meetings with them, have they been able to tell you that they have noticed foreign movement amongst them, people who look like them but are not from amongst their stock?
Yes, you see, the Fulani leaders that we met, don't forget, these are people that are moving, that are mobile. They are very, very mobile. And so it's difficult for them to have a complete census of who the members are. But what we know and what they've told us is that they control their members through their respective leaders. And once they have called their community leaders from the different groups and from the different various settlements in these areas, information gets right to the generality of the members. It's very difficult for them to begin to identify who is arriving late and who was just settled before. Because these are people who are not living in one place. They are constantly on the move to be able to graze their cattle. So it's difficult to say that this one's arriving today or this one arriving tomorrow. But what we have been able to decipher between those that are strange to us is by the behavior, by their conduct, and as I said, by their violence reaction when they come in contact with the farmers, and of course the hostility when they engage the farmers in their various host communities.
Let's talk about the communities again. You've talked about thousands of people being displaced and are now living in other cities within Benue State or even moved out of the state. What is the hope for rebuilding those communities?
Our commitment as a government is to ensure that the displaced persons return to their various abodes to be able to carry out agricultural activity. But this has not been possible because as soon as the displaced persons return, you have attacks again. Very recently, we had clashes at the Christmas Eve and on the Boxing Day, which also led to the death of some persons, which the governor has vowed to make sure that he gets the root cause of the latest incident. Let me also inform you that when communities are displaced, these persons live without anything. They abandon everything in their homesteads, they abandon their farms, they abandon their crops, they abandon their livestock, they abandon everything that they have. And this has constituted a social and security problem on its own, which the government is trying to tackle. In the 4 local government areas of Guma, of Makudi, and Gwewes and Agatu that I have already mentioned, farmers in their thousands have been displaced and have found abode elsewhere. And this is as a result of the persistent clashes between them and their Fulani Herdsmen brothers. So this is the situation as it were, and as I said, Governor Susam is living most 10 and 10 in ensuring that a solution that is workable, a solution that will last is found to make sure that this problem is contained.
You know, there was a recent attack also in those local governments you mentioned, including Makurdi local government area, I think 5 days ago, and the governor was quoted to have said, yet to be identified criminals attacked those villages under the guise of Fulani Herdsmen, and that they were trying to get those chaps, and that caused a lot of reactions. Were you aware of that comment, and what really happened with that?
Yes, in hardly security situation of this nature, Governor Susam has decided to be as honest as possible in dealing with the issues. And when you have a crisis situation of this nature, the tendency is for criminally minded persons to take advantage. And that is what has been happening as well. Oftentimes, the Fulanis will complain that their cattle have been rustled, some 100 cattle have been stolen, some 200 cattle have been stolen, and the tea farmers will also complain that some crops have been stolen, and so on and so forth. It is very clear that occasionally some criminally minded persons also take advantage of these persistent clashes to cash in and perpetrate crime. This is what happened in the latest incident. The governor suspected that in the clashes that occurred on the Christmas Eve and on the Boxing Day, which also led to the death of some persons, may have been prepared by the activities of some criminal-minded persons. And it was in this regard that he set up a committee to work closely with the security agencies and the police to identify those that may have been responsible in the promotion of these latest clashes that led to the killing of some persons. And when the media misrepresented the governor based on his comments, the reaction that was generated was to the extent that he had absorbed a certain group, the Fulani Herdsmen, from the killings. This was not the situation. The situation was that this crisis has been on for a very long time, as I've said, for at least 3 years, and both groups have lost quite a lot. But in this latest incident that occurred on the Christmas Eve and on the Boxing Day, that led to the killing of some persons, the government is determined to know the identity of those people that were killed, and also those that may have been responsible for this, for the fact that this also occurred in the festive period where people were unsuspecting and people were going about the celebrations. So he was touched by the fact of this situation and has vowed to get to the root of it, and that is why he's working closely with the security agencies to try to identify those that may have been responsible for this latest incident.
Could you tell us what kinds of results are we getting? Because, I mean, time and again, you talked about several meetings going on at different levels, including at the governorship level.
Yeah, Chamberlain, we have gotten a lot of results that are positive. As I said, if the results were not positive, the situation would have been even worse than what we have now. But with the fact that Governor Suswam has committed himself very seriously to the resolution of this problem, that is why we do not have a situation where it has not escalated to the other local government areas of the state. It has remained a problem within 4 local government areas of Guma, of Makudi, of Gwe West, and Agatu local government areas. And these local government areas are all located along the banks of River Benue, and also are the borderline with the neighboring Nasarawa state. So sometimes the attackers come by boat in the river and the River Benue to launch attacks and recede. And this is one of the reasons why it is difficult to locate them. It's not, these people are not situated in one place. These are itinerant and nomadic people. So it's difficult to locate them in one place and to make arrests and things like that. But the effort that has been put in place has yielded results because of the fact that this crisis, although have not completely ended, have subsided in some parts, and of course has not escalated to other local government areas. So the fact that it has been contained in the local government areas alone is the fact that some major success have been recorded.
We do hope that will be sorted out as quickly as possible. But could you also tell us briefly, what is the situation with the education sector? Because we do understand that there was this strike that was prolonged in Benue. Is it over now?
No, the thing with education was with the primary school teachers who had asked for increment in their salaries based on their misunderstanding of the minimum wage that has been implemented both by the federal government and by the state governments in the country. What has happened is that Governor Suswam had placed the teachers in Benue State at salaries far higher than the minimum wage. And so when the teachers were asking for minimum wage, the thing is to say that, do we go for the minimum wage of 18,000 where the least paid teacher in Benue State receives 25,000? So the least paid teacher in Benue State takes 25,000 and the minimum wage is 18,000. So the teachers were making a request that had no basis. So Governor Suswam said, look, if I take you to 18,000 minimum wage that you are asking for, it means it's a salary increment. And we're not talking about salary increment. We're talking about the threshold where people who earn below 18,000 should begin to earn from 18,000 and above. But the problem has been resolved. Before the Christmas, all the salaries that were owed were paid. The government directed that the salaries be paid, and the salaries have so been paid. And the government has also approved an increment for the teachers. This has jumped the wage bill of the state from 800 million per month to about 1.2 billion naira a month, the wage bill of teachers alone. So we believe that as the festivities are over and as their salaries have been paid, the teachers will resume work and attend to our pupils who have had to be out for 2 months as a result of the strike action.
Okay, Dr. Cletus Akwaya, Senior Special Advisor to the Benue State Governor on Media. Thank you very much for speaking with us today on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
All right, I will return in just a moment. We've got all the matters coming up, so please join us again.